Holy and happy Sabbath, everyone. Good to see you again after many years. I thank God and all the members and pastor for giving me this great opportunity to worship together with you. God bless you all. Thank you for the wonderful music, a nice introduction, and good prayer. I'm not a humble servant. I'm not a good messenger, but you introduced me that way. I told you a couple of times that personally, I have a lot of emotional attachment to this church. I'd like to say my deepest condolences to the family of the deceased Pastor Nisario. I mean, your pastor before. Gamos Church helped me a lot in my spiritual life. I was lost for many years, living like a prodigal son, but I made my way back to God at this church. And your pastor before, Pastor Nisario, he installed me here. I mean, he found a place for me here, especially in Chinese church. I'm sorry he's gone ahead of us, just ahead of us. He visited my place in Marahan a few times before he died. And he also gave me a call just a couple of days before he died. I feel a little bit strange this morning. But still I'm alive. When I see you wearing masks, the place I'm staying now, my family is in Samar Island, but I'm staying in somewhere in Cotabato and Marillo, where we seldom wear masks. The people in the mountains, my natives, they don't care much. We still have a lot of freedom, and I seldom see people sick, affected by corona. So just let me get rid of the mask. I want to share with you one of the famous Bible texts in Romans chapter 10, verse 13. It says here, anyone who calls upon the name of the Lord will be saved. What do you say? And most SDA members will say, no, not anyone who calls upon the name of the Lord, but only the people who do the will of God. And they will copy maybe Matthew chapter 7. But I want to insist this Bible text just to encourage ourselves. This Bible text, Romans chapter 10, verse 13, for whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. It's only copy from the Old Testament. Let's go to Joel chapter 2, 32. It's not new Bible text in the New Testament, but it's only copy, quotation from the Old. Joel chapter 2, verse 32, it says, it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be delivered. But I want you to know the background, the context of this Bible text. So let me read from verse 28. it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams. Your young men shall see visions. It talks about the last days. 29. And also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirit. 30. And I will show you wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood, fire, and pillars of smoke. 31. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and the terrible day of the Lord come. Now, this is the setting, the background for the next Bible text, which says, it shall come to pass, anyone who call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. So when in Rome, Apostle Paul says, anyone whosoever calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved, we should understand the background. This Bible text is intended for the last days and for the people living in the last days. Sometimes I have kind of a spiritual shock or intellectual blackout. Know why? If we talk about this Bible text, and many SDA members say, no. You read Matthew chapter 7. And I feel very irritated because they feel like I'm not SDA or wala kulang knowledge in the Bible. Sometimes, when you talk about this, eating food, the diet, I heard so many times since 1993. I think I attended the church first time, 1995. Maybe some AY members, you are not yet born. I was here in this place, in this church. At that time, it was international church. Since that time, I heard so many times when Bible teachers or laymen, even pastors, they say, don't eat maboy, because there are demons, devils, Satan's inside the maboy, inside the pig. And I feel like there is an intellect blackout, or more like IQ, or like knowledge in the Bible. How could they interpret that way? And just to convince people, stop eating maboy. What a stupid teaching. Then would you say, oh, be careful, you see a snake, there is a Satanas. Will you say that? Or when you see donkeys, you can talk? What are you saying? It's kind of spiritual or biblical blackout. Now, regarding this Bible text, oftentimes also I feel that way. What's the problem? If I say, anyone who call upon the name of the Lord shall be delivered, shall be saved. Please don't say, no. Because the reason is they do not understand, especially the background, the setting of this Bible text. Anyone who call upon the name of the Lord will be saved. So now I introduce the background to you from Joel. It sounds like what even Jesus said, Yeah. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood. After the signs in the earth, on the earth, Jesus, in Matthew chapter 24, the next signs Jesus introduced was what? Signs in heaven. After that, Jesus is coming, right? Now, so Joel, this background is the last days. In these last days, when God poured out his spirit to the people, young and old, and they prophesy and teaching us, call upon the name of the Lord, and you will be saved. And the next part is, well, actually in the Bible, there is no chapter, no Bible, no verse. So it was combined only one, yeah? The book of Joel. Jesus never said Isaiah chapter what and what verse. No, it is written, Isaiah said. So now here, Joel continues. The next verse is, behold, in those days, in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. Yeah, the time will come. Actually, it came true in 1948. Yeah, Israel became again, a new nation, a country, after they lost their identity, their nationality. Yeah, 1,000 years, more than, and they became again a nation and country. When I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, and I will gather all nations, and I will bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. I will plead with them there for my people, for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. So continue. This book, Joel, introduced a man, like a king, Jehoshaphat. Verse 12 again, let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. And I will sit to judge all the heathen around Israel. Multitudes in the valley of decision. Well, here, the valley of Jehoshaphat is equals valley of judgment, decision. It talks about the last days. Now, to understand these Bible texts, we must know who is Jehoshaphat. Because Joel introduced one person, the king, Jehoshaphat. So let's go to the story of Jehoshaphat. Maybe many of us, we just overlook or we don't care much about this king, Jehoshaphat. If that's so, that's why we do not understand Rome chapter 10, verse 13. Why Apostle Paul said, anyone call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. So today, I hope we understand correctly what it means by Rome chapter 10, verse 13. Please do not associate this Bible text with Matthew chapter 7. Let us study first. So here, let me introduce two chapters. First King, chapter 22. And also the same story is written in Second Chronicles, chapter 18. the story of Jehoshaphat. There are 8 good kings in Israel, in Judah, in North Israel, the kingdom. There is no good one, all bad kings. But in southern part, in Judah, there were 8 good kings. And Jehoshaphat is one of good kings. The problem he had, please open your Bibles. First King, chapter 22. Though he was a good king, he made a serious mistake, a terrible mistake. Why? His partner in the north was King Ahab. Who is King Ahab? A terrible king. And his wife is Jezebel. Oh, terrible. Even the name Jezebel is written in the book of Revelation. That much notorious, a terrible name. Before, Jeroboam introduced, idols and made cows so that people will not go to Jerusalem. But so the idols were outside on the street. But King Ahab, because of his wife, he brought into the palace, all kinds of dirty idols. And they had children, Jeroham or Joram, and one daughter, Athaliah. And King Jehoshaphat had a son, the same name, Jehoram, or call him Joram. So the daughter of Ahab and the son of Jehoshaphat married. Can you do that? You are a good king. God helped him a lot. Now, how could you give your child to a daughter of Jezebel? What do you say? Ask yourself, is there any parent here, any mother or father who is willing to give your child to somebody like Jezebel or Ahab? What do you say? That's really terrible. Very pastors. Dhamma. Oh, how evil is that? Before God, God, he knows God hates Ahab, Jezebel. Elijah, story of Elijah. Now one day, King Ahab invited Jehoshaphat because King Ahab wanted to attack their enemy, actually a common enemy, Syrians. So Ahab made a big party. Bible says he killed lots of animals to entertain Jehoshaphat from Jerusalem and suggested, what do you say? Let's go and fight Syrians. And Jehoshaphat said, verse 4, I'm yours. I'm as thou art. My people as your people. My horses as your horses. He gave his son to Athaliah, very famous, a notorious woman. And now, kulang pa, he added more. He said, I'm yours. My people are your people. My army, horses, chariots. It's a symbol of army, military power. Yours. Wow. If if we were in the situation of God, God is now watching this happening. His good one, Jehoshaphat, now in the house of King Ahab, and offering himself, his people, his military power, offering all. What do you say? What would you like to do if you had, God's authority? It's a terrible mistake. And King Jehoshaphat, he wanted to ask for the guidance from God. And he said to King Ahab, can we inquire at the prophet of God? And King Ahab said, well, we have one prophet. I mean, the kind of prophet you are looking for is Micaiah. But I will tell you, Micaiah doesn't give any good message, always bad. But Jehoshaphat, he wanted to make sure, going out to war against the Syrians is confirmed or supported by God. So they brought in Micaiah, the good prophet. And he said, don't do that. You'll be lost. And Ahab said, look, he was telling us bad message. Tanawa. Ahab presented 400, like before, Elisha. This time in the palace, 400 spiritista, idol worshippers, prophets of Baal. And they said, okay, now you can go and fight. You will be victorious. And one fake prophet, picky prophet, by the name of Zedekiah, same name, the last king of Judah, the bad king Zedekiah, who allowed Jeremiah in the mud pit. This man came and said, no problem now. God will support you. You go out, you make a war. Now, Jehoshaphat is dilemma, but he already crossed the line. Just imagine all the people, all the politicians there, and military power, and many people entertaining him. And he already gave his words to Ahab. I am yours. My people are your people. My military is your military power. Just take it. So they started out to the battle. And this evil man, evil king Ahab, talked to Jehoshaphat. I will just change my dress into a normal soldier. But you just go out to war in your dress, kingly dress. How terrible man. King Ahab, he felt something. He knows. Because the prophet Micaiah, though his message is bad, or it's right. So this evil king, Ahab, that's my cycle, huh? He suggested to King Jehoshaphat, you just go out in your dress. So he will be very noticeable. But King Ahab, this evil man, Marunong, smart one, he just changed his uniform into just normal soldier. So what happened? The Syrian king said to his 32 captains, okay? How many? Verse 31. The king of Syria commanded his 32 captains that had ruled over his chariots, saying, fight neither with a small nor great. Do not fight anybody except only with the king of Israel. Can you imagine? 32 captains of chariots. So how many chariots? They are captains of chariots, which means many, probably more than 32 chariots. If there is, King Jehoshaphat, his chariot, how many chariots you need to surround him? Put him under siege? Maybe 5, 6? That's already enough. Yeah, one chariot, maybe 8 chariots already enough to surround him. Now, 32 captains of chariots, I mean, they are not just chariots, captains of chariots. Verse 32, and it came to pass when the captains of the chariots saw Jehoshaphat, they said, surely, this is the king of Israel. And they turned aside to fight against him. And Jehoshaphat cried out. 33, when the captains of the chariots perceived that it was not the king of Israel, it should be Ahab. Ahab is their main enemy. The king of Syria hated Ahab. He wanted to kill Ahab. But now Jehoshaphat is taking the place of Ahab. Can you imagine? This good king, he gave his son to the daughter of Jezebel, Ahab, and now he offered himself in the battle, wearing the dress of a king, and surrounded by 32 captains of the chariots. Churo, many circles of chariots. You know, chariots, in the movies, there's a very big iron wheels with a lot of sondang. Anything on the road, on the way, chop, just lampas, na? Lampas. I have been doing lampas for now more than 3 years in Bukit. Sometimes I use two lampas. We kapo in one hand, so I use 2 lampas. So chariots are like that. But when they heard, Jehoshaphat cried out. They what? They realized it's not the king of Israel. It's king of Judah. It's not Ahab. It was another man. So they turned back from pursuing him. Okay? That's in 1 Kings chapter 22, verse 33. Let's go to this time to 2 Chronicles, the same situation now, the same environment. Let me read 2 Chronicles chapter 18, verse 30 and 31. Now the king of Syria had commanded the captains of the chariots. It doesn't have the name of how many, but in Kings, in 1 King, it says 32 captains of the chariots. It says, do not fight with the small or great, except only with the king of Israel. It came to pass when the captains of the chariots saw Jehoshaphat, they said, it is the king of Israel. Therefore, they compassed about him to fight. But Jehoshaphat cried out. And this is a different thing. And the Lord helped him, and God moved the chariots to depart from King Jehoshaphat. Isn't that interesting? What made these 32 captains of chariots? Just imagine maybe more than 100 chariots. What captain has only one chariot? That's stupid. Yeah? A lot of chariots surrounding one man, Jehoshaphat. This Hwang man, he gave his son. Now he's offering himself, his army. Kung ako Ginoo na, bugoy na kayo. I'll just spunk him. Dapat, like Elijah, he must stand firm. He must correct King Ahab. But now he's under King Ahab, following his command, offering himself with his people. But he shouted. The Bible, only the Bible text, we can just guess what happened by which. It is he's crying. He cried out, and God removed the chariots from pursuing him. So what did Jehoshaphat cry? I don't know, because it doesn't say here. It says only he shouted, he cried out, and the chariots, they departed. They stopped attacking him. And Bible says, God removed the chariot. So it must be something with God. You know, when children and babies, when they are in danger, what do they shout? When they see snake or something, Mama or Papa. If your children call out the name of your neighbor, your silingan, there's a big problem in your family. If your child call out another name or another vocabulary when he fell down or just in the water or in the fire, very hot, if he shouted fire, maybe there is a mental problem. All children, babies, automatically, it's the instinct, whether they fall into water or fire, they call out, Mama. Tama dile? Tama? I have 5 children, so I know. I have 2 boys, 3 girls, 3 daughters, so I know their reaction. I'm old already, past 50 years old now. Still, even in my dream, I call out, not the name of my mother, I just call out, Mama. Yeah. Until now, I believe in this moment, in this surrounding, you only see, sondang, chariots. You will not talk about many things. He cried out the name of God. Maybe Jehovah, Elohim, or probably Yahweh, but Jehovah, the name Jehovah was not there in that time. It was Yahweh. So when Syrians heard, it's very clear. He is not the king of Israel. I mean, he's not Ahab. Ahab is not the believer of Yahweh. He is idol worshiper. If Jehoshaphat cried out, his wife or his father, Syrians don't know whether he is, because everybody in the world, Ahab also had a father. But there's a distinct something very different from this man. When he called out the name of God, that's the time, what Bible says, God removed the chariots. It says, God saved. So this is a background. So that day, Jehoshaphat, he was saved. But his partner Ahab, this evil man, very smart man, finally got shot and died. When Jehoshaphat came back to Jerusalem, here in Chronicles, it's not in Kings, there was a man, the prophet Jehu, not the general Jehu, prophet here, seer, watcher. He went out to meet King Jehoshaphat and said, it's chapter 19, he scolded Jehoshaphat, should you help the ungodly? Should you help the ungodly man Ahab? And should you love them that hate the Lord? That's why there was wrath, anger upon you from the Lord. Nevertheless, because of good things in your heart found, in your heart, you seek God. So what does it mean? God saved you because of the good things. What? In your heart, you seek God. From what is in the heart, we speak out. Dhamma, from the abundance in your heart, you speak out. What do you think Jehoshaphat shouted in that moment when 32 captains of chariots, maybe 100 chariots about to kill, from the abundance in his heart, because he was, according to the prophet, the seer, Jehu said, because there is something good in you, because in your heart you seek God. That's why in that moment, Jehoshaphat shouted the name of God. Because he was seeking God in his heart. That was considered good because of good thing in your heart. God removed, Bible text says, the Lord saved him. God removed the chariots. So let's go back to Joel. You should understand this background before you understand anyone who call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved, shall be delivered. Joel said, in the last days, when the sun and moon go into darkness and bloody, when God poured out his spirit upon the young and old, and people prophesy. We prophesy. I'm sometimes tired. I'm fed up with the same stories. When we have Daniel Revelation seminar, normally they just teach Daniel chapter 2, 7, 8, 9, mura lang. That's all. We seldom study Daniel chapter 11 or 12, even Revelation. Parayagi hapon, maybe 12, 13, 14, jump to 17, 18, 19, mura lang. More than 40 years, I'm sick and tired of it. I'm fed up. But this background is the same. And whether you like it or not, in the last days, we prophesy, we teach other people Daniel, Revelation, even though we are not yet fully equipped, educated, or lacking a lot of prophecy, and yet we teach people prophecy. Then why you stop calling out the name of the Lord? And why you stupid teachers say, no, do not call upon the name of the Lord only, you cannot be saved. It must be Matthew chapter 7. How long will you teach that way? Because we do not know the background. Bible doesn't contradict itself. Bible, God said clearly, if you call out the name of the Lord, like Jehoshaphat, in the valley of decision, in Joel chapter 2 and 3 combined, in the last days, after those signs in heaven, you must call upon the name of the Lord. Like Jehoshaphat in the valley of decision. Why? He was between death and life. He must choose. And he chose not many doctrines, but the Lord. He called out the name of God. We have not, I look at myself oftentimes. I'm shy. I'm shy to share the Bible. Before, I was very proud, but the more, the older I grow, I feel uneasy sharing the Bible because I do good work. For example, I do good work, helping church buildings, evangelism, but my behavior is not good. So people, normally they attack my personality and character, and I always collapse. I tripped over. I fell down at that point, my weakness. What's the use of all the Bible text that I know, stories or knowledge, when I cannot correct myself? I give correction and prophecy and Bible knowledge. But I wish God accept me, because in the valley of decision, anyway, by the way, this Joel chapter 3 is connected to the last part, Armageddon story. Please study for yourself. All the nations God will bring down to Israel. It's not just the political issues, spiritually. And they have to make a decision, like a Jehoshaphat. Either you stay with enemies or with Israel. And it's just out of sudden, but all of a sudden, why in this part, Joel pick out Jehoshaphat? Because there is a big lesson for us. We have not given, though I made a lot of mistakes. I never intended to make kind of affiliation, the friendship, partnership with Satan. I don't want to give my children to Jezebel. Your money, your time, your effort, your life. Who wants to give to Satan? Definitely nobody here. But Jehoshaphat, if you look at this chapter, kung ako Ginoo, mahal patay ikaw. Pwede bugoy ka. Ako hatak tibuok, Israel, Judah. To you, I endorsed everything to you. But you gave your child to my enemy, Ahab, Jezebel, and even my people. You gave my people my horses to Ahab, my enemy. That's why the seer scolded Jehoshaphat upon arrival. How dare you help the enemy of God? People who hate your God. It was a terrible day for Jehoshaphat. Tapapatay unta, but God saved him. No, we are just like that. We fell off oftentimes. Tama? We are not always correct. Sometimes I explode my temper gawas, and I regret the right after. And for many days, many weeks, even months, I regret what I did. No, one time, just a few seconds, mistake, I suffer many years. Tama? Kamu put? But please don't be discouraged. We are surrounded by enemies. Oh, we are wearing our dress. Dapat, the dress of Jesus Christ. Pride, kingly dress, nice. Only Jehoshaphat lang. Siya lang isa wearing a guapo royal dress. Stupid. He became the target of all the arrows. How stupid this man. I don't understand, but the more I just imagine your imagination, try to understand this bugo man. Stupid member, foolish. Just put himself on the target. Marunong, smart, tikasan partner, Ahab, taguman, watching the game. After all, he got arrow, patay na siya. Even though dogs came and licked the blood from his chariot. In these last days, we are experiencing, Corona. There are more to come, right? This is kind of rehearsal, practice. God is giving us many, many practices, experiment class, so that we will be well prepared for the next one, for the more severe, terrible things to come. Though we are wrong oftentimes, and we betray, we betray our God. Just a neutral on that. Anyway, there's no neutral. If you're not with me, you're against me. And we go against our God, helping evil people. And yet there is a hope. Like a King Jehoshaphat. From the bottom of our heart, as Jehu, the seer, the prophet, scolded Jehoshaphat. Even though you are wrong, you made a stupid things this day, and yet God found something good in you. It was what? Because you were seeking God in your heart. And out of the abundance of his heart, he called out the name of God, and God removed the chariots. I pray, and my hope that it's nice to see Chinese and Indians worship together. How beautiful it is. Amen. We are one family. We are worshiping in the same spirit and truth. Let's center our life, our heart. We are focused. God-centered life. God bless you.